everyone. My name is Jeff Lee. You saw me earlier, maybe not, but it's all good. I'm here with Canon, as Brian said.
Hello.
Hello, his name is Canon, otherwise known as Jesse from Canon. How's it going today?
It's good, it's good.
Great.
This has been great. The Tech Expo has been fantastic.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. Yeah. So you obviously have a lot of stuff going on in the booth. We brought just one of the many pieces, I think, of the Canon ecosystem with us today. Otherwise, we would have 100,000 lenses on this table.
That's correct,
so,
yeah.
So since we have it here, let's talk about the lens. Yeah?
Sure,
so
yeah.
This is the new 18-80 servo lens.
Right, compact CineSpace lens, yeah. And really, we're introducing this lens into an area of the market that doesn't really exist yet. So we're bringing this lens to market, kind of taking the best of our EF lens products and the best, some of the features of our CineSpace full-line products at a price point that servo-style cinema lenses don't really exist at.
Right. So this is definitely something to. Don't think of this as a EF still lens that has a servo motor attached to the side of it. It's definitely a departure from that.
Right.
It's yeah, because I hear that every once in a while. People think, oh, okay, it's just a lens with a servo. It's not. It's
no,
complete
not
departure. It's complete revision and rethinking of the.
Right. Yeah. So ground up the optical formula, the design of the lens. This is brand new for Canon.
Right.
And it's really again marrying the world of the cinema lenses with the world of our EF still lenses, still zoom lenses, or the zoom lenses that are being used constantly with our Cinema EOS products.
Right, and of course you have built-in image stabilization.
Right.
This is the first time I felt a real lens. The one I had prior was like a mock-up a few months ago.
Right.
But this on a C500 Mark II on my shoulder, no shoulder pad, this was really kind of
special.
special.
What we're showing here is the C300 Mark II with the lens, and really, you know, the body style of the Cinema EOS cameras really start to make a lot of sense with this lens on it, because the balance, you know, it's just over 2.5 pounds. It's very light for an 18-80 lens that covers Super 35. And the balance with the camera, it's really nice on the shoulder. I mean, as we're showing it here, you saw it, there isn't even a shoulder pad on the camera, and people are just putting it on their shoulder and they feel very comfortable.
Yeah, you really don't need one. If you haven't done it yet, I encourage everyone to go out there, just try it. Put it on your shoulder, immediately you put the screen in front of your face, it just makes total sense.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And again, so 9 aperture blades, you're getting that round bokeh quality. Sure. It's a T4.4 throughout, continuous, which basically is equivalent to an f4. So if you ever shot on the 24-105, L lens, very similar transmission in terms of light, and it's a continuous aperture. So you're not, as you're zooming through, you're not getting any darkening or lightening of the aperture. Right.
And you mentioned as you zoom through, what's important, obviously, parfocal, right?
Exactly.
So you focus on something in a distance, bring it back out. It's not going to go out of focus.
Right. Right. You know, and so compatible with our dual pixel autofocus technology also. So.
So amazingly fast autofocus. You don't need to have the hand grip attached to it. The servo is actually built into the lens, which some people don't realize. So if you need to slim it down or to save some weight because you're putting on a gimbal of some sort.
Exactly, exactly. And you're not forced to purchase the servo hand grip with the lens. So you could buy the lens separately, and there's still, basically, if you see the functionality on the servo grip, there's a small rocker built into the lens towards the bottom that without the grip, you'd still be able to operate. But what's interesting about the grip, and no one really talks about this, is it's the first time on a Cinema EOS camera where we've employed a rosette mount.
Right.
So it's the first Cinema EOS product with that. So the grip attaches via rosette, so it's industry standard, and you can actually mount the grip off camera onto a handle unit and use a rosette style handle to mount directly to the lens.
Right. There's a long enough cable here that you could, like you said, relocate it easily with one of the various third-party products or anything else. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is just the first of the series. This is not the first and only lens. This is...
Definitely, we're openly talking about the fact that this is the first in a family, in a line of lenses. So you can expect us to expand this category of lens into the future.
Right. So I have to ask, just because I've been receiving this question myself, any plans on making a PL mount version of this?
I don't know. I don't know. That's all I could say now. This is EF only.
Right.
I haven't heard anything about whether or not it'll be available in EF or PL.
Like I said, I hear it a lot, so I figured I'd pass it
Sure,
on,
no, it's a good question,
Yeah. Great. So lens aside, we also have a bunch of new announcements that you guys just rolled out with at IBC.
Sure.
Unfortunately, we don't have it because it's so new. We don't have the C700 here with us.
Unfortunately, right. Not yet. Yeah.
Not yet. Soon, we're hoping. All right, stay tuned. But C700 is not just a continuation. I mean, it is a continuation of this Cinema EOS family, but it's not just like a C300 Mark II with a shoulder pad.
Not at all.
Right. So you've taken the concept of your kind of core design, which is that like small run and gun handheld configuration, redesigned it so it does fit on a shoulder comfortably, but also other design elements for, say, a larger production. Right?
Exactly.
Like 4K production is really important these days.
Right. Yeah, we can really think of Cinema EOS up until this point with the C700 as an evolution out of the DSLR video filmmaking world, right? Even the C300 Mark II, you're still sticking within an ergonomics that's meant for single operator use. we've seen the Cinema EOS line creep up into A camera production, which is not necessarily what the target was for C300 down to date.
Right.
The C700 is a product directly targeted at the top level of production.
Right.
So from a design perspective, it's made for a crew. It's made for multiple operators utilizing the camera on a full featured set. And that's why we have the operating unit panel on the right side of the camera.
Right.
That's facing your AC side, your operator side. That can be detached via cable. You can change all the functions of the camera, as well as the operating side unit, the person actually holding the camera, they have a full panel as well. So dual side panels for operating the camera.
Right.
And again, the ergonomics and the capabilities are expanded beyond C300 Mark
Right,
II.
and you simplified the external interface a little bit to be more comfortable for those the first AC, like changing quick settings right at your fingertips.
Exactly. So the idea, and this is a traditional design element in digital cinematography, is to have hard buttons that are connected to a display interface, but that are immediately accessible. To limit the amount of menu digging for your top level functions. Yeah.
Right, of course, and we know obviously 4K production is super important these days. Even though a lot of folks aren't quite finishing in 4K, the online deliverable networks are mandating 4K, true 4K acquisition.
Right.
So I'm seeing also, I'm sure you are, a lot of interest in those type of shows, right?
Yeah. So what we noticed over the last few years is that the mandate for 4K production off of a native 4K sensor, a sensor with 4K resolution, there's no wiggle room. It's been mandated, especially by VOD. So as the Netflixes of the world and Amazons deliver 4K content to viewers, it must originate off of that 4K sensor. So the C700, it's a 4K sensor, just like the C300 Mark II, but now we have an added resolution that gives you up to 4.5K.
Right.
So what really the C700 also takes into consideration is a raw workflow. So we partnered with Codex, a notable name in recording, and we designed a proprietary accessory that goes onto the back of the C700 seamlessly and allows you to do 4.5K RAW and 4K RAW up to 120 frames per second.
Right. Yeah, and like you said, known workflow. Codex has been around forever. All the major players are working with that ecosystem right now.
Yes.
So it's not like a foreign concept to a lot of folks.
Right.
Which is great. So obviously we could tell that you're stepping up the game.
Yep.
Because like you said, you were always, Canon was always very comfortable in that sort of handheld, ENG style kind of production, but now you're talking about a whole new level.
Right, and also just as, when we look at the video landscape, the amount of content being created and consumed is just going through the roof. And with that, you're getting more content being created with smaller crew sizes. Sure. And the C300, when it was launched, and the Cinema EOS family until now, would really address that growing market of smaller crew size, single operator filmmakers. The C700, again, it's really aiming at the traditional cinema market, and that's why we also included ProRes for the first time in a Cinema EOS camera. So ProRes on board, you don't need the Codex accessory. You're getting 4K resolution ProRes as well as 2K, and getting 4444 at your 2K, so you're really utilizing that 12-bit. Sure. And then the 4K is 4228Q, getting that 10-bit image quality right off the sensor, and XF AVC as well. So we have our codec, exactly.
Yeah, the known variables.
Right, yeah.
And as I've mentioned too, I keep looking at the back of this EF mount. Right, obviously it started out as the still format electronic focus, electronic control. But now we're looking at EF lenses. We're seeing it everywhere. It's not just the CP2 style lenses or the rehoused photo type lenses that we saw like 3-4 years ago. Nowadays, you're talking about all the major players like Cooke, Ingenue. Right. They're supporting this EF format natively.
Yes.
So I think that's a testament really to the longevity of the lens mount, the longevity of the cameras themselves. Right.
Well, especially at the pro level, we're in a mixed owning renting environment. And the bottom line is, if you're purchasing into glass, especially for the first time, it's likely EF, because the affordability and quality is there with the EF DSLR lineup, right? And then typically people are augmenting what they own with what they rent. And if you're buying a camera, well then you face the mount conundrum of, if I own EF lenses and I buy a PL camera, I can use all this great legacy PL glass that's out there, but now I lose the lenses I own. So you have more people adopting the EF mount on their camera systems and now looking into the cinema market for all manufacturers to be able to be capable with that mount system. So it's been an interesting 5 years. Cinema EOS, it'll be its 5th birthday in November.
Oh, wow.
It's only 5 years. And all the lenses of the cameras and the fact that EF mount's becoming so popular, it's something we're really proud of and we welcome into the industry.
And you touch upon a really great point there. 5-year-old system, but you have from the very top C700, C300 Mark II, C100 Mark II, you have a camera for every sort of market, really.
Right, and it's important to know, too, that when the same team that looks at a C100 and thinks about what it should be is the same team that's looking at a C700 and thinking about what it should be. So the idea is that the family of Cinema EOS cameras, as you move up, that language is the same. We did not want to, for Cinema EOS to be a fragmented system where when you go from C100 to C300, the menu's different, the button layout, there's always change, but you're speaking the same language as you move through the system.
Right, yeah. So as you graduate upwards or move downward for various reasons, it just kind of makes sense.
Exactly.
The ecosystem just
exactly.
goes on. Well, that's great. Also, one last thing we can mention, too, is that now there's new firmware for the Canon 17-120 CineSpace, which firmware is usually not the most exciting news in the world.
Right, yeah.
Just to be fair.
Right.
But you've added this really awesome feature, which is with the EF mount, dual pixel autofocus on any of the DAF-capable cameras.
Exactly, yeah. So with the 17-120 CineServo zoom, our full-fledged CinemaServo zoom lens, you're now getting the dual pixel autofocus functionality, which is quite a feat because, as you know, those are not small elements that you're moving around in that lens. Right. So you're able to drive the lens through the servo with the dual pixel autofocus, for focusing. It goes back to this lens and something that I was really excited about. It was actually the first question when we got trained on this lens that I asked. The 17-120, when you're using it with our cameras, require external power.
Right.
They don't power through the lens mount. The 18-80, in fact, grabs its power through the C300 Mark II lens mount. So you don't need an additional battery. You don't need an additional power source. You're still using that one tiny little battery in the back of the camera to power your camera and your lens. So it's a really just seamless solution. Yeah,
that's a fair point. And this cable that we see here is not to get power or anything from the camera body. It's literally just to attach this hand grip to the servo, which is built into the lens. So that's an important point to illustrate. So thank you for that. Yeah. Great. So if you haven't already stopped by the Canon booth, please make sure you do so. Speak to Ed or speak to Jesse, please, because they're here to answer your questions. And they have fun stuff and footage you guys are playing, and there's a lot of other new excitement, developments, right? New monitors and such, which we won't have time for today.
Yeah, HDR displays. Yeah, and also November 18th, Claire. I think it's November 18th is the C700 in New York.
Yes.
Yeah, so November 18th, the C700 working camera will be in Able, New York. And of course, we're planning to bring it to Chicago also. Do not forget about Chicago. It will be here. So yeah, we're really excited to be showing that camera finally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Jesse, thank you again so much for being here with us. Thank you everyone for watching and listening to us blab on about techie stuff. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks so much. Take care. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Jesse.